Now, the Department of Zoology, Dr. Jayesh N. Papadkar, uh, is introducing the introduction and course outcome. The Gondwana University Gadchiroli CBCS syllabus, Bachelor of Science, BSc semester 2, and in that semester 2, paper 1, and in paper 1, from the name of the paper 1 is Animal Diversity of Chordate and Comparative Anatomy. In this semester, instead of 2, BSc semester 3rd, paper 1. So, subject zoology theory, CREDITS 2, Animal Diversity of Chordate and Comparative Anatomy. Uh, in this paper, particularly the unit number 1, it is consisting of urochordates, cephalochordates, cyclostomata, and pisces. Unit number 2, amphibia, reptilia, and unit number 3, aves and mammals. And in comparative anatomy, we have to study the derivatives of integument, aortic arches, types of receptor, comparative account of urogenital system. Now, for this paper, if we have to study the animal diversity of chordate, which includes the study of primitive chordates, collectively known as protochordates, also includes the study of amphibian, reptile, aves, and mammals, and comparative anatomy of systems. Now, in this paper, the students are awareing about how the protochordates and mammals, up to the mammals, there is a evolutionary diversity takes place, and this diversity is concerned to each class, right? From urochordate, cephalochordate, cyclostoma, pisces, amphibia, reptile, aves, and mammals. So, in this uh, introduction, we are going to study about the diversity of chordates. Primitive chordates, collectively known as protochordate, also includes study of amphibians, reptiles, aves, mammals, and comparative anatomy of systems. So, in the syllabus of this paper 1, semester 3rd, paper 1, as per Gondwana University Gadchiroli, animal diversity of chordate has been allotted to BSc semester 3rd, paper 1. In unit number 1, urochordates, general character, ascendant tadpole, and retrogressive metamorphosis. In lower chordates, the lower primitive chordates are collectively known as protochordates. They are comprises of 3 major subdivisions ranked as subphyla, the hemichordate, urochordate, and cephalochordate. This division is chiefly based on notochord found in 3 subphyla. In Hemichordata, notochord is doubtfully existence. It is represented as a stomodial diverticulum, or we can say buccal cavity diverticulum in the proboscis. For the reason Hemichordata nowadays treated as independent invertebrate phyla. The urochordate have notochordate in the tail of tadpole larva. Only cephalochordate have persistent notochord extending as a whole length of their body throughout the life. Now, in ascidian tadpole, uh, urochordate, general characters are there. In general characters of urochordata, they are exclusively marine, cosmopolitan, found in all sea and at all depths, mostly sedentary, some pelagic or free swimming. Solitary, aggregated in groups, or colonial. Size, shape, and color variable. Adult body degenerates, sac-like, unsegmented, without pair appendages, and usual without tail. Body covered by protective tunicate or test. Composed largely of tunicins similar to cellular hairs and named tunicates. The terminal branchial aperture and a dorsal atrial aperture usually present. Coelom absent, instead an ectoderm line atrial cavity present, which open to outside through atrial aperture. Notochord present only in larval tail, hence the name urochordata. Notochord is present in the tail region. That's why it is known as urochordata. Alimentary canal is complete. Then pharynx or branchial sac is large with endostyle and two severe, several pairs of gill slits, ciliary feeder. Respiration through the taste and gill slit. Blood vascular system open type. Then excretion by neural gland, pyloric gland, and nephrocytes. Dorsal tubular nerve cord only larval stages reduced to single dorsal nerve ganglion in adult, mostly hermaphrodite. Hermaphrodite means the male and the female characteristic of the male and the female present in the same animal. Development indirect includes a free swimming larva, tailed larva with the basic chordate character, metamorphosis retrogressive. So, in urochordate, all these characteristics are there, are the general characters. Asexual reproduction by budding is common. After that, Ascidian tadpole larva. The fully developed larva of Hermania is about 1.5 mm long and exterior covered by test. The body of tadpole is differentiated into two distinct regions, a short anterior trunk and the long posterior tail. The trunk, it is consisting of anterior narrow solid cerebral cone, sensory vesicle, and visceral or trunk ganglion. The sensory vesicle encloses three sense organs, posterior dorsal ocellus, anterior ventral ocellus, and statocyst. Statocyst is the organ for equilibrium. Animal has to go to the right or left or up or down. It has to be decided by statocyst. The mouth is located on the anterior part of the dorsal surface of trunk. It is covered by test. Mouth is present, but it is covered by test, but this larva is unable to feed. So they are non-feeder. Buccal cavity, the alimentary canal is well differentiated into buccal cavity, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, intestine, rectum. And the pharynx has pairs of gill slits or stigmata and ventral endostyle. The atrium is an ectodermal pouch lying on side of dorsal to pharynx. It opens exterior by dorsally situated atrial aperture. The heart is enclosed by pericardium. Group of undifferentiated mesenchyme cells is found in hind region of the trunk. Then adhesive papillas are there, two being dorsal lateral and one ventrolateral position. So this is about the trunk region, anterior region or a trunk region, and the tail region. Laterally compressed and about 1.0 mm long. The tail covered by tail is produced into a wide median ventral tail fin. It also possesses the notochord. Hollow nerve cord is there and standard endodermal cells on both sides. The nerve cord, notochord, and endodermal strands are present three muscle bands. The Ascidian tadpole larva swims about actively in a surface water by vibrating its long tail about 3 hours. This larva is non-feeder. It swims for 3 hours on the surface water of the sea, and then it sinks to the bottom and fixes to the substratum by the help of adhesive papillae. It fixes the larva and stand upside down, and the substratum slowly branching its tail and in the water, and after that attachment of the larva undergoes a peculiar kind of metamorphosis known as retrogressive metamorphosis. Now, retrogressive metamorphosis, most of the character in this retrogressive metamorphosis, most of the character get reduced and a new character develops. So in this, particularly the larva is pelagic to benthic, means the larva was free swimming on the surface of the water of the sea, and then it is a benthic existence. Metamorphosis of Ascidian larva is unique and being almost explosively. It is involved transformation of active non-feeding pelagic lecithomorphic, feeding on its own yolk, reserve, and tail larva, having many advantageous features such as axial notochord, dorsal neural tube, special sense organ into an inert sedentary sessile, and a primitive planktotropic filter feeder adult with only a pharynx and a stigmata and endostyle, both indicating that chordate feature of an adult Ascidian. So The larva is looking different and the adult is looking different. Adult is sedentary, sessile, and it is standing on one place, and they are planktonic, or we can say planktotrophic. Larva to this type of metamorphosis which shows the degenerative or retrogressive changes from larval to adult is known as retrogressive metamorphosis. In this particular retrogressive metamorphosis, there is a loss of a tail. Metamorphosis involves degeneration of a tail, then the degeneration of a notochord, nerve cord, and tail muscles. These tissues are autolyzed or reabsorbed. Autolysis takes place, the degeneration of the organs takes place by the metamorphosing larva as a result of the tail being to shorten and ultimately disappear altogether. In the adult, you will not get the tail. Changes in the brain, the sensory vesicle with its sense organ breaks down. The anterior part of the sensory vesicle gives rise to neural gland, where its posterior part conjuncts with the trunk ganglion from the nerve ganglion of the animal. The trunk ganglion transforms into visceral nerve. Protection of elementary tract, perfection of elementary tract. The pharynx enlarges, stigmata increases, number and are vascularized by blood channel. Stomach grows bigger, intestine becomes U-shaped, and liver is formed. These are the changes which are occurring during the retrogressive metamorphosis. Formation of ectodermal ampulla. Ectoderm and the test extend from our four corners of the trunk of attached metamorphosis larva over the substratum in the form of outgrowth called as ectodermal papillae or ampullae. They serve double role, respiration and anchorage. It serves the respiration as well as anchorage or attachment. Shifting of the mouth and atrial aperture. The larva possess mouth anteriorly and the atrial pore in the middle. So there is a rearrangement of the mouth and atrial pore, and there occurs the opposite side. Anterior opposite side, one of the side will be mouth and another side will be atrial pore. The portion of the larva becomes point attachment of the mouth proliferates rapidly. This causes the body to rotate dorso-posteriorly an angle near about 180 degree. Due to this, mouth and atrial apertures are carried to the opposite free end. Loss of adhesive papilla. The adhesive papilla not of any functional significance in the adult disappears. Development of the taste. The taste grows to enclose the entire animal. It becomes thick, tough, and translucent. Elaboration of blood vascular system. Heart completes its development and get connected with the blood sinuses in both ends. Formation of gonad. Gonads are their ducts developed in the mesoderm, opening of the mouth. The taste is reabsorbed in the region over the mouth so that an adult acidian feeding by ciliary current becomes established. Thus, active free-swimming larva becomes inactive adult. And this is occurring because of the retrogressive metamorphosis. When the metamorphosis includes such morphogenetic changes that converts the advanced larva to primitive adult animal, then such metamorphosis is called as degenerative or retrogressive metamorphosis. So this is all about the general character of acidian tadpole and retrogressive metamorphosis. Then the subphylum or another phylum, that is the Cephalochordata. General character of subphylum Cephalochordata. Marine, widely distributed in shallow water, mostly sedentary and buried with only anterior body end projecting above bottom sand. Body small, slender, fish-like. Metameric transparent. Head lacking. Body has trunk and tail. Paired appendages lacking, median fins present, endoskeleton absent, epidermis single layered, muscle dorsal, lateral, segmentally into myotomes, coelom enterocellus, reduced in pharyngeal region by development of atrial cavity, notochord rod-like, persistent, extending from rostrum to tail, and hence named Cephalochordata. In the acidian tadpole larva, the notochord was restricted to the tail region, but in Cephalochordata, right from the rostrum, means above, or we can say in front of the mouth to tail. So that's why the name given Cephalochordata. Digestive tract complete, pharynx large, perforated by numerous persistent gill slits opening. into atrium, filter feeder. Respiration through general surface, no special organ for respiration present. Circulatory system well developed, closed and without heart and respiratory pigment. Hepatic portal system is developed. Excretion by protonephridia with solenocyte. Nerve cord dorsal tubular without ganglion and brain. Dorsal and ventral nerve separated. Sexes separate. Gonad numerous and metamerically repeated. Metamerically repeated means every segment there is a presence of a gonad. Gonoduct lacking, no sexual, asexual reproduction. No asexual reproduction. Fertilization is external in seawater. Development is indirect, including a free swimming larva. The Cephalochordata comprises of 30 species of this genus Branchiostoma and all put into the class Lepidocaridae. So this Cephalochordata, the example is Amphioxus. We have to study the Amphioxus. This is all about the general character and then the Amphioxus. Amphioxus is said to be a lead a double life. For the most of the time, remain buried in the sand. Occasionally, especially in the night, they are coming through the sand burrow and they can freely swim. And as soon as it senses some disturbance, it buries itself and again either head or end or tail end while buried in the tail end may come out through the burrow. While the buried animal keeps its head above the sand to find the feeding or breathing. Amphioxus is typically ciliary feeder. Means with the help of cilia, they capture the zooplankton or microorganism, and that's why they are with the help of buccal cirri. That's why they are known as ciliary feeder. It feeds on planktonic organisms found in the seawater. External feature: shape, size, and color. 5 to 8 centimeter in length, whitish, translucent, laterally compressed, and pointed both ends. The posterior end is tapering, pointed rather than anterior end. The body is divided into two regions. Greater anterior region constitute the trunk, and the shorter post-anal posterior region, the tail. Anterior end, the trunk project in front of pointed snout or rostrum. Aperture. There are numerous aperture in this Amphioxus. That the trunk bears three openings: mouth, atriopore, and anus. Anteriorly below the rostrum, tentaculated structure, the oral hood. Atriopore, anus at the end. So atriopore opens separately and the anus opens separately at the caudal fin. Fins and folds. Dorsal fin is there, dorsal caudal, ventral fin is there, ventral fin, caudal fin. They are present. Fin rays are there. These dorsal and ventral fins are supported by fin rays, whereas caudal fin lacks them together. In anterior two-third part of the trunk, ventrally, the lateral side of the body project down into flap called metapleural folds are there. And the folds are continuous anteriorly but below the rostrum. Rostrum se niche apne ko milte hain. Myotomes and gonads. Myotomes are nothing but the muscle bundles, and the gonads. On each lateral side of the body, series of V-shaped muscle bands or myotomes or myomeres can be seen throughout the transparent body between the mouth and atriopore. Can also be either side. There are myotomes. A series of gonads are there on the lower side. Digestive system of Amphioxus. The digestive system of Amphioxus consisting of alimentary canal, which is a simple straight tube, comprises of oral hood, pharynx, esophagus, midgut, diverticulum, and intestine. Mouth is anteriorly placed, and below the rostrum there is a presence of fringe-like membrane, the oral hood. The buccal cirri, 22 oral cirri are there. Sensory papillae, skeletal rods are these sensory papillae or the cirri. They are perforated with the skeletal rods. Vestibules. The oral hood encloses large funnel-shaped cavities called as buccal cavity or vestibule. Below or behind that buccal cavity, there is a presence of bill organ. Basally, epithelial linings of oral hood, 6 to 8 pairs of finger-like folds, patches is formed, ciliated grooves bounded by a ciliated ridge. Collectively, these are formed as bill organ. These bill organs are also known as Muller's organ. Velar tentacles. head sac groove, head sac pith is there. Velum and enterostome. There is a behind that number of villi-like structures are there known as velum. The enterostome. There is a sphincter aperture. This velum can be opened and closed. There are 10 to 12 slender border velum tentacles are there, which are ciliated and sensory velar tentacles. They also serve as strain the water, and current entering through the enterostome. Pharynx. Pharynx is consisting of a very typical structure, presence of pharyngeal wall and gill slits. There are 150 to 200 gill slits are there. Each gill slits are perforated with the primary and secondary gill bar. These primary and secondary gill bar are perforated with the cartilaginous structures, and these are also perforated by primary and secondary gill bar, also perforated by frontal cilia, lateral cilia, and constant beating of cilia um, uh, provides particularly the current of water. And after that, at the lower side, there is the presence of endostyle. Hypobranchial tract on an endostyle extend mid-ventral along the entire floor of the pharynx. Endostyle is present on the entire floor of the pharynx. It forms a shallow groove with this, and it is consisting of median cilia, ciliated cells are there, glandular cells are there, endostylar skeleton is there. Epipharyngeal groove. The epipharyngeal groove is a prominent ciliated groove present mid-dorsally along the roof of the pharynx. Then peripharyngeal band. There are a pair of narrow ciliated tracts arising from the anterior end of endostyle. They run obliquely upward and backward, one along the either lateral wall of the pharynx to unite dorsally with anterior end of epipharyngeal groove. These bands dermicate a small anterodorsal peribranchial region. Pharynx divide of gill slit. Pharynx is divide of gill slits. Then esophagus. Posteriorly, the pharynx open into short, narrow, and tubular esophagus, having ciliated internal lining and leading into the intestine. After that, intestine, the gut or intestine is as long as pharynx, and the intestine can be differentiated into three regions. The anterior, relatively wider part, midgut, and then a large blind pouch, a diverticulum, arising as a junction of esophagus and midgut towards right side. The lining of midgut right side bears a concentric lateral ciliated tract. The cilia beat downward, directing the food into the midgut diverticulum. Midgut is followed by a densely ciliated ileopolic ring. So there is a presence of lateral ciliary tract, midgut diverticulum, and ileopolic ring. And then there is a presence of a hindgut. And, and there is a heavily ciliated and open outside the anus. Anus is a small circular aperture controlled by sphincter. Sphincter means whenever there is a necessity, there is a closing and opening of the, particularly the mouth. It opens at the base of caudal fin. There are digestive glands, midgut diverticulum, referred as liver, and it is a blind pouch, ventral junction, esophagus, and midgut. It is surrounded by a narrow coelomic cavity. Its inner lining has strong ciliated groove for movement of food. Its zymogen secretory numbers of digestive enzyme beside epithelial lining intestine also contact numerous gland cells. Diverticulum, midgut diverticulum act as a lever. Zymogenic cells are there. They are releasing the digestive enzyme, and then there are numerous gland cells scattered over the digestive system, and they are secreting digestive enzyme. Food feeding and digestion. Feeding mechanism in this animal. Ciliary feeder. As this anteriorly, the oral cirri is there. Oral cirri is there. So oral cirri are there, and these oral cirri, they are particularly filtering the microorganism, zooplankton, and sand particles. Sand particles are avoided, and the water current, along with the water current, these microorganisms, they are sending to the digestive system, pharynx, and then it is going to the midgut diverticulum, ileocolic ring, where the ileocolic cilia are there, and then it is digestion takes place. So these oral cirri, filter feeder, wheel organ, they are forming a particularly the selection mechanism for the zooplankton and phytoplankton, zooplankton and microorganism. So in the excess of water through the gill slit, excess of water through the gill slits, when it come out through the pharynx, it is going outside through the atrium and arteriopore. So this is about the feeding and the digestion. The digestive enzymes are secreted from the two sources, midgut diverticulum and midgut epithelium. Digestive part is the midgut and continuous remaining part of the intestine. The ileocolic ring, the food cord, undergoes the option due to ciliary activity. This break up the food material into still smaller particle, thoroughly mix the enzyme, the food delays the backward passage. So there is a prevention of a backward movement of the food. And then it intracellular digestion also takes place, extracellular and intracellular, both. Digestion is mainly extracellular, but intracellular digestion also takes place mainly in the phagocytic cell. So in the intestine, suppose it is digestion takes place known as extracellular, but inside the cell, when there is a digestion takes place known as intracellular. There are numerous enzymes present in this animal, amylase, lipase, protease, which act on particularly the substrate, that is carbohydrate, protein, and lipid, giving the simpler form of the we can say food, and then absorbed in the animal body. After that, cyclostomata, agnatha, or it is known as cyclostomata. The lowest or most primitive of all vertebrates belong to the group Agnatha, that is with jaws. This is the particular fish, cartilaginous fish, where you will get cyclostome, means round mouth is there, provided with the round jaws and the teeth, including lampreys, hagfish, and some slime eels. About 50 species of the jawless fishes are upper jaw, lower jaw recognized. They belong to two major divisions, Petromyzoniformis and Myxiniformis, termed as subclasses because they possess round jawless mouth. Round jawless mouth. They combine in the class Cyclostomata. The general character of Cyclostomata: body is elongated eel-like, median fin with cartilaginous fin rays, but no paired appendages. Tail, it is diaphyseally circle, diaphyseal. Skin soft, smooth, containing unicellular mucus gland, but no scales are there. These Petromyzon and Myxin, these animals are slimy, mucus possessing, but no scales are there. Trunk and tail muscles segmented into myotomes separated by myomata. Exoskeleton fibrous and cartilaginous. Notochord persists throughout the life. Imperfect arches over notochord present rudimentary vertebrae. Jaws are absent. Mouth, ventral, suctorial, and circular, hence named cyclostomata. Digestive system lack a stomach, intestine with a fold, and typlosole. Gills are 5 to 16 pair in lateral sac-like pouches of pharynx. Gill slits are 1 to 6 pair. Heart two-chambered with one auricle and one ventricle. Then two metanephric kidneys with duct or duct to urinogenital papillae. Dorsal nerve cord with differentiated brain, 8 to 10 pairs of cranial nerves are there. Single median olfactory sac, single median nostril, auditory organ with 1 to 2 semicircular canal. This animal possesses a single nostril, which is a peculiar character. 7 pairs of external gills are there. Suctorial mouth is there. That possesses the teeth. All these characters are very peculiar in the cyclostomata. Sexes separate or united, gonad single, large, without gonoduct. Fertilization external, development direct, or with prolonged larval stage. In some classes, there is a prolonged we can say larval stage is there in the mixing. Petromyzon. Lampreys are worldwide distributed, found in both saltwater and freshwater. These particularly Petromyzon, they are migrating from seawater to freshwater for spawning purpose, for mating purpose, commonly called as sea lamprey. The life cycle includes two quite different phases. The larva has called ammonoocyte larva in freshwater. So after the mating, the male and the female get died, and the larva develops as an ammonoocyte larva, and they return to their original place of the sea where the parent was living. The first fish-like adult living in the sea, and it is a parasitic on fishes. These particular Petromyzon and Myxin, these are the fishes which are ectoparasite of other fishes. They are feeding on the blood. They are feeding on the blood. That's why they are known as sanguivorous. They are feeding on the blood of the other fishes and attaching to the bigger fishes and sucking the blood. The fish like adult living in a sea and parasitic on the fishes, they climb to the fishes, turtles, with its powerful suctorial mouth, and then remove small bit of tissue with its rasping tongue. The sea lamprey swims about near the bottom of a salt or a fresh water, and undulation of its body. The head of Petromyzon has elongated eel-like body made up of three regions: head, trunk, and tail. And the lamprey is without, they may attain the 1 meter in length, and the lamprey is without exoskeleton, soft and slimy. Paired appendages are absent. Two unequal median dorsal fin located near the posterior end. Around the tail, there is a caudal fin. Thin cartilaginous rod fin rays are their sucker. Their buccal cavity act as a sucker or a buccal funnel. At the apex, the buccal funnel is small, circular mouth opening is present. On each lateral side, the head is large, prominently eyes are there. Two eyes lack eyelids and are covered by transparent area of a skin. So this is all about the Petromyzon, and there is another animal that is a Myxin. Myxin is commonly called as a hagfish, nocturnal. They can live at the depth of 2,000 feet. They are parasite and generally found attached to the bodies of the fishes, and particularly gills area, and bore their way into the body, and they live in the viscera and the muscles. They are found in the North Atlantica Pacific coast of the South America. The body is in-like with the continuous median fin. The scales are absent on the body. The mouth is terminal and surrounded by soft lips. The buccal funnel and the jaws are absent. The mouth guarded by 4 pairs of short tentacles. The supported by skeletal rod. There is a single nostril. Eyes are degenerated and covered with the thick skin. There are 6 pairs of gills. They are hermaphrodite. Without possess, there is a larval stage. Without passing through a larval stage. So hermaphrodite means both the sexes are present in the same animal. Then the Pisces, general feature and classification up to the order, osmoregulation in fishes and accessory respiratory organ. General character of Pisces, as we know, the fishes are aquatic, marine, freshwater, herbivorous, carnivorous, cold-blooded, oviparous or ovoviviparous vertebrates. Body usually spindle-shaped, streamlined, differentiated into head, trunk, and tail. A neck is absent. Locomotion by paired pectoral, pelvic, and median dorsal or caudal fin. Exoskeleton of dermal scale, denticles, bony plates are covering by surface. Endoskeleton cartilaginous or bony. Jaws are hinged, notochord more or less replaced by two vertebrae. In this Pisces are the fishes, real true fishes. The cartilaginous structure is replaced by vertebrae. Muscles arranged into two segments called as myotomes, with separate dorsal and ventral parts. Alimentary canal wide with definite stomach and pancreas and terminated into cloaca or anus. Respiration by gills, 5 to 7 pairs. Neck are covered by a operculum. Heart 2-chamber. Kidney are mesonephric. Excretion ureotelic. Brain with usually 5 pairs. 5 parts. Cranial nose are 10. Paired nasal sac do not open into mouth. Paired nasal sac do not open into the mouth. Tympanic cavity or ear ossicle lacking. Internal ears with 3 semicircular canal. They are present. Sexes separate. Gonad typically paired. Gonoduct open into cloaca independently. Fertilization is internal or external. Female oviparous or oviviparous. Eggs large with much yolk. Extra embryonic membrane absent. Development usually direct, without or with lethal metamorphosis. This is about the general character of the fishes. Then osmoregulation. Now, in osmoregulation of a fishes, how do these fishes living in a sea water? How do these fishes living in a fresh water? They have to compensate the solute concentration of the outer side in the water and inside the body. That is known as, we can say, osmoregulation. There are the medium, that is isotonic. If inner body concentration and outer body concentration in the water, they are same, known as isotonic. Hypotonic, if the body concentration is less and water concentration and solute concentration is high, then hypotonic. Then hypertonic, if the concentration of the body is high and the water concentration is less, then it is known as hypertonic. So excess loss of water should be avoided. Excess loss of the water from the body, it should be avoided. And that's why there is a osmoregulation in the fishes. There is a mechanism. Most fishes are confined to either salt or fresh water and have limited salinity to tolerance. They are known as cynohaline species. In the sea, concentration of salt in the water is more than the body fluid of the fishes, so that water tend to diffuse out. Hence, the marine fishes tend to drink water. Fresh water fishes, however, lose salt and water enters in the body. फ्रेश वाटर में बॉडी के अंदर पानी जाता है, वहां मराइन वाटर में फिशेस को पानी पीना पड़ता है, ओनली वाटर, not the solid. This is because of the higher concentration of salt within the body of a freshwater fishes than the surrounding. Kidney and the gill plays important role in excretion of a nitrogenous base and maintaining the water salt balance. Osmoregulation in fresh water. Osmotic pressure of the body fluid is higher than that of the surrounding water, which diffuses into the animal body through the gills or oral membrane and intestinal surface. Some water may also enter through the less permeable skin. The scope with this steady flow of water, freshwater fishes produces a large amount of dilute urine, which is hypotonic with regard to fishes. A typical kidney of a freshwater fish therefore has a large amount of functional glomeruli. So in the kidney of a freshwater, there is a highly developed glomerulus is there. And lamprey has functional pronephros, but adult cyclostome have mesonephros. And teleos, the freshwater teleos produce urine between 5 to 12% of the body weight per day. Main function of a kidney is this in this species is therefore water excretion, but a small quantity of nitrogenous compound also passed out. Due to the copious secretion of urine, many freshwater fishes have developed urinary bladder. In fishes, we can see the development of a urinary bladder for a temporary storage of a urine. The urine contains creatinine, amino acid, urea, and little ammonia. Salt balance in the fresh water. Salt balance in the fresh water, it is done by the fishes. How the in contrast to the water, there are the number of the ions, there are the number of the salts. These salts should be balanced inside and outside the fish body. That is known as osmoregulation. The lithium plus, sodium plus, calcium plus, chloride plus, bromide plus, acid phosphate, HPO4, then phosphate. All these ions, they are particularly, we can say, balanced inside and outside the fish body. Osmoregulation in marine fishes, they also maintain the sodium, potassium, and chlorium, magnesium, SO2 ion, magnesium 2 plus ion, and they maintain the body level or concentration of the salt level. So that's why they can easily live in the sea water or fresh water. Osmoregulation in diadromous species. Anadromous species like salmon, lampreys, hilsa migrate from sea to swamp in a fresh water. These species spend their adult life in sea and migrate to the rivers for spawning. The eggs develop into fry fingerlings before they return to the sea. These species are not necessarily urine. They are able to adjust the water of different salinity due to hormonal activity. This is very peculiar in diadromous species. They can live in the fresh water. They can live in the, we can say, marine water. After that, control of osmoregulation. The control of osmoregulation, it is done by endocrine glands, hormone influences, then urine output, diffusion and absorption of gills influenced by the hormone. Adrenocortical hormones also produce the thyroid, and suprarenal influence osmoregulation and endocrine in fishes. So this is all about the osmoregulation in fishes. Then accessory respiratory organ in fishes. There are number of the ways to maintain the oxygen and CO2 inside and outside the body, and they are fishes develops a special kind of the structure. First is the skin as a respiratory organ. In Anguilla, Amphiponus chunchia, these fishes, they are richly vascularized, serves as the exchange of gases. Their skin is richly vascularized to perform the exchange of gases. Damp vegetation during the period of moist skin serves as an important organ of a respiration. Then buccopharyngeal epithelium. The buccopharyngeal epithelium in certain fishes, it supplies by large number of capillaries to make highly vascularized. In many simple or may develop fold, pilates or the tongue projection into the buccal cavity, and pharynx make it an efficient respiratory organ. This kind of respiratory organ found in periophthalmus, baleophthalmus, and electrophorus. These are the example. Pharyngeal diverticulum. Fishes of the family Ophiocephalidae, sac-like diverticula develop, Channa marulus and Channa punctata. These fishes possess a particular type of the, we can say, sac-like diverticula, and they are known as labyrinthine organ. They are known as labyrinthine organ, helping in the respiration. Opercular chamber are modified for aerial respiration. As we know, the gill slits are covered with the operculum. Operculum act as an inhaled air pass through the gill slit into the opercular chamber, where it's stored for some time. This air is stored for some time. The opercular chamber becomes bulges out to form a two little balloons in the hinder region and of the head. And after some time, a wall collapse, air is passed through the small external branchial opening. The membrane lining the operculum chamber becomes thin and highly vascularized, allow exchange of gases. This is seen in periophthalmus and baleophthalmus species. This is about the operculum. Then branchial diverticula. This branchial diverticula have a particular labyrinthine organ in a particular species, Heliopneustus fossilis. The respiratory membrane, the fans of expanded gill plates, the air sacs, and the respiration membrane. These are present in particularly the fish Heteropneustus fossilis, and then Anabas testudinus. This is an air-breathing organ, that is Anabas testudinus. The we can say air-breathing organ of the Anabas consisting of spacious air chambers are there. Spacious air chambers are there, and Clarius batrachus. That Clarius batrachus, we know that special extra, we can say, air chambers are there, tree-like chamber, fan-like chambers. These are suprabranchial chamber respiratory with the respiratory membrane. As our lung is there, with the help of that bronchi, or we can say sacs are there. That tiny sacs are there, and they help in the respiration. This is about the unit number 1. That includes urochordata, cephalochordata, cyclostomata, and pisces. Student understand that how this course outcome is there. Student understand the basic concept of classification and characterization up to the order, urochordata, general character of ascidian tadpole larva, retrogressive metamorphosis, Student learn about the classification up to the order Cephalochordata, morphogenetic character, digestive system of Amphioxus, Cyclostomata, morphological character of Petromazon, Vixen, Pisces, general character and osmoregulation and accessory respiratory organ. This is about the unit number 1. Now the unit number 2. In unit number 2, general character of amphibians. In amphibia, as we know, these animals are living on a land and as well as in the water. That's why it is known as amphibia. Classification up to the order and parental care and neotony. So general characters of amphibians are the aquatic, semi-aquatic, air and water breathing, carnivorous, cold-blooded, oviparous, tetrapod, vertebrate, head distinct, trunk elongated, leg and tail may be present or absent, limb usually two pairs, tetrapods, some are limbless, that is ichthyophis, which is the limbless, toes 4 to 5 or less, paired, fins absent, median fins if present without fin rays, skin soft, moist and glandular, pigment cell or chromatophore are present, exoskeleton absent, digits clawless, some are concealed with dermal scale, exoskeleton mostly bony, notochord does not persist, skull with the two occipital condyle, then mouth large, upper or both jaws with the small homodont teeth are there. Tongue often protrusible. Alimentary canal terminate into cloaca. Respiration by lung, skin, mouth lining, skin and mouth lining. Larvae are with external gills which may persist in the aquatic adult. Are three chambered, two auricle and one ventricle. Kidney metanephric, urinary bladder large, urinary duct open into cloaca, excretion is ureotelic. Brain poorly developed, cranial nose 10 pair, nostril connected to buccal cavity, middle ear with the single rod-like ossicle, columella, lateral forms some aquatic adult in the lateral line system. Sexes separate, male without copulatory organ, gonoducts open into cloaca, fertilization is mostly external, female mostly oviparous, development is indirect, and cleavage holoblastic but unequal. No extra embryonic membrane, larva, tadpole with metamorphosis into adult. These are the characteristics of the amphibia. Now we will see parental care in amphibia. In the animal kingdom, most familiar and most, we can say, taking care of their young one and the eggs is found in the amphibia. Protection by nest, nursery or shelter. Selection of nest. Many frogs lay their eggs on the protected moist microhabitat on land or near water. Many tree frogs lay their eggs not on land but on the leaves and the branches overhanging over the water. Species like Philomedusa, Rhacophorus, hyloids glue their eggs on a foliage hanging over water, free from of predator, and this microhabitat, the tadpoles are hatching, drop into the water beneath the and complete their metamorphosis. Defending territories, male of a green frog rana, climatans, and other species maintain territory and attack small intruders to defend eggs. Male or a female even guard the egg in Mantophyron robusta, the male actually sits over the eggs and hands an elastic gelatinous envelope containing the eggs. Then foam nest. Most of the frog, they are forming the foam, and inside the foam, the eggs are protected. That is why they are known as foam nest. It is found in Lepidodactylus, frog. Mud nest. Most of the frog, that is the hyla, Brazilian tree frog hyla, they are making the saucer shaped mud nest, and inside that the tadpoles are developing. Tree nest, Philomedusa and Rhacophyrodalus lays the eggs in folded leaf nest with margin glued together by cloacal secretion. And Hyla resifrictis lines a shallow tree cavity and bee wax obtained from the hayu and certain stingless bees. Female lay eggs when this cavity is filled with the rainwater. And here the young develops relatively free from predator. So protection in gelatinous bag. Sometimes the Rhinizalis beroe. Large number of the eggs are enclosed in sausage-shaped, transparent, gelatinous bag secreted by female and left in maintained steam. A small salamander, Salamandrella, deposit 50 to 60 small egg in gelatinous bag, which is fastened to aquatic plant. Direct carrying by parent, coiling around the egg. Directly, the parent, they are coiling around the egg. It is found in ichthyophis, then Amphiuma, Plethodon, and Megalobrachydacus. The male coil around the egg. Transparent tadpole, transporting tadpole to the water. Most of the frog, they are transporting the tadpole on their back. Phyloblatus, Archaeopteris, Dendrobatus deposit their eggs on their back, and then it is carried and to the particular we can say tadpoles are hatching fasten themselves back on the parent without suckers like mouth and transported to the water bodies. Eggs glued by the bodies. Most of the time, amphibians, instead of remaining the eggs, carry the eggs glued to their body. They carry their eggs glued to their body. And Rhacophorus, Desmognathus, these are the Alitus, these are the frogs where they glued their eggs on their body. After that, eggs in a back pouches. Most of the frog, they have their back pouches. And these pouches where the development of the egg takes place inside these particularly back pouches. Hyla, Geodili, then Pipa. These are the example of the frog. Organ as a brood pouch. Most of the time, in the frog back, rhinoderma pushes at least 2 fertilized egg into vocal sac. Vocal sac के अंदर उसको tadpole को अंदर छोड़ते हैं, then there occurs the total development. Like that, this is a peculiar kind of the we can say particularly parental care in the amphibian. After that, neotony. Neotony is the phenomena that can be described as prolongation of larval stage in the adult. When the larval character persists in the adult, then it is known as neotony. Metamorphosis takes place, but most of the character of the larva persists in the adult. So this particularly phenomena found in the salamander. And for this purpose, the environmental factors affecting abundance of food, cold temperature, insufficient iodine, thyroxine, TSH, all these are the characteristics which are particularly favored neotony. Larva is different, adult is different, but in the larval form, what are the characters are there? They persist as it is in the adult. Then it is known as neotony. Then we will see the reptiles. The reptilian general character that we know, predominantly terrestrial, creeping, burrowing, mostly carnivorous, air-breathing, cold-blooded, oviparous, tetrapodal vertebrates, body bilaterally symmetrical, divisible into 4 regions: head, neck, trunk, tail. Then pentadactyl with 2 pairs of limbs. Then exoskeleton of horny epidermal scale, shield, plate, scutes, skin dry, cornified and devoid of gland, mouth terminal, jaws bear simple conical teeth, alimentary canal terminates into cloacal aperture, exoskeleton bony, heart chamber 3-chambered or 4-chambered, then respiration by lungs throughout the life, kidney metanephric, excretion ureotelic, brain will develop that amphibian, brain well developed in the amphibian, cranial nose, tail pairs. Sexes are separate, male usually with muscular copulatory organ, fertilization internal, mostly oviparous, large yolky meroblastic eggs covered with leathery shell, always laid on the land, embryonic membrane, amnion, chorion, yolk sac, and allantois appears during development, no metamorphosis, young resembles the young one. Parental care usually upset. These are the characters of the reptile. And in the reptilian character, we can see there is a classification of reptile on the basis of temporal vacuities, formation of temporal foci. In their temporal foci or temporal, we can say skull, there is a development of particularly the foci are cavity, and depending on that, there are number of the types of skull in the reptile. That is known as anapsid skull. No temporal vacuities is there. Synapsid skull, only one is there, and parapsid, only one is there, and diapsid, only two vacuities is there. This is about the temporal vacuities. Then snake venom. Hemotoxic venom is there, neurotoxic venom is there, Phaeoglyphus, Proteoglyphus, and Solanoglyphus. Type of snake venom. These type of snake venom, as we know, hemotoxic means venom destroys the blood vessel and blood cell. That is known as hemotoxic. And neurotoxic affect the central nervous system. So there are in the snake venom 20 type of toxic enzymes are there. Proteolytic enzyme and arginine ester, thrombin, acetyl, choline esterase, collagenase, RNase, hydrogenase, DNase, phospholipidase, then 5-nucleotase, phosphatase B, L amino acid oxidase, phosphatase C, lactase dehydrogenase, adenosine triphosphatase, and number of the enzymes are there that acting only on RBCs, red blood corpuscle or the blood cells, and that is known as hemotoxic, and neurotoxic means that acting on the nervous system. So this snake venom can be act as a medicine. Yes, it act as a medicine. Nowadays, this snake venom used in the medicine purpose, and Anacort or Agarestod are the two medicine they are prepared. Then the poison apparatus in the skin. Poison gland is there, poison duct, poison fangs or the teeth, Proteoglyphus and Solanoglyphus, Ophistoglyphus. Now, in Proteoglyphus, the fangs are small and in front of the maxillae and along with the entire face. The fangs are found in cobra, crate, coral snake, and sea snake. And in Solanoglyphus, the viper and Russell viper, the large functional fangs occur in the front of each maxilla containing few reserve and developing fangs. The fangs are movable and turn inside the these particularly Proteoglyphus fangs are not moving inside, turn inside, but Solanoglyphus fangs are turning inside, and there they are hollow poisonous canal is there. Opistoglyphus. Opistoglyphus, these fangs are small and lie at the back of the maxilla. Each fang grew along the posterior border. These fangs are found in some poisonous snake. Uh, and the poisonous apparatus is associated with specialized three types of muscles. These are temporalis muscle, digastric muscle, protractor muscle, pterygoid or spinopterygoid muscles. Biting mechanism in the skin, opening of the mouth, rotation of the maxilla, closing of the mouth. Three phases are there: opening of the mouth, rotation of the maxilla, and closing of the mouth. So all these three mechanisms are there for the biting mechanism purposes. And then identification of a poisonous and non-poisonous snake. How do we can identify the poisonous and non-poisonous snake? On the basis of their tail. If the tail is laterally compressed, widened posteriorly, the snake is poisonous. If the tail is cylindrical, tapering posteriorly, the snake may be poisonous or non-poisonous. On the basis of belly, the small scale are present on the belly similar to those of the back of the snake is monopoisonous, non-poisonous. If the ventral or belly scale are large but extend across the belly, snake is non-poisonous. If the ventral extend fully according to the belly, small scales are not visible, then they are known as poisonous snake. On the basis of head, if triangular head is there, then the snakes are poisonous. If cobra, viper, then pit viper, all these are particularly possessing the triangular head. And beside this characteristic, poisonous snakes have one or more pair of fangs, which is a very identifying character. After that, aves. In the aves, before that, in the unit number 2, course outcomes are the student understand the basic concept of classification and characterization up to the order of class, amphibia and parental care, neotony. Student learn about general feature and classification based on temporal vacuity, snake venom, poison apparatus and biting mechanism, poisonous and non-poisonous snake. And after that, unit number 3, that is a flight adaptation. Particularly in the bird, there is a flight adaptation. Morphological flight adaptation: shape, body counter, body covering of the feather, then forelimb modified into wings, modified mobile neck, beak, bipedal locomotion, perching, short tail, anatomical adaptation of integument, large muscles, flights are there, endoskeleton. The skeletal system is porous and light-weighted. Feathers are, we can say, the forearms are adapted for the flying purpose. All these are adaptation of the birds. Then the digestive system, less complicated digestive system is there, and rate of metabolism in the bird is very high. Food requirement are more and digestion is rapid. The food is selected as a high caloric value, largely utilized with minimum indigestible waste. Consequently, the digestive system is compact and effective. In the bird, it should be required. There is a presence of air sacs to maintain the body buoyancy. The inelastic lungs of the birds are supplemented by remarkable system of air sacs. Then circulatory system, rapid metabolism and warm-blooded requirement, large oxygen supply, efficient circulatory system. Avian heart is relatively large and completely divided into 4 chambers, function very effectively with a double circulatory blood. Warm-bloodedness. The bird are warm-blooded animal. The perfect aeration of a blood responsible for high temperature of body 40 to 46 degrees centigrade, which is necessary for flight requirement, a great output of energy over a long period. Excretory system. Bird do not have a urinary bladder, which is present a store urine temporarily in other animals. Moreover, water or excretion fluid is reabsorbed in the urinary tubule of the kidney in the cloaca. The result is formation of a semi-solid excreta. They are releasing their urine in the semi-solid excreta, chiefly containing insoluble uric acid and urate, which is avoided of once. These feature help reducing unnecessary weightage of body. Sense organ and brain. Particularly, the birds have very good sense organs and the brain develop. Single ovary, left side in the female, single ovary is there, it reduces the weight. Then migration in the birds. Migration and resident birds, kind of migration, latitudinal migration, altitudinal migration, vertical migration, longitudinal migration, partial migration, irregular variant migration, seasonal migration, summer, winter, visitors are there, birds of paradise are there, which are moving from one place to the other. Mode of migration, nocturnal or diurnal. Most of the birds, they are migrate in the daytime or night time. Segregation during the migration. Some species of the birds, they are migrating only for their, uh, we can say, roosting ground and breeding ground. Range of migration in most of the birds, thousands of kilometers they are moving from one place to the other for breeding purpose or for feeding purpose. Altitude of flight, how much they can move away from the earth's surface, 5,000 to 40,000 feet or 20,000 feet or more, they can migrate. Velocity during a flight migration, 500 miles per day or 5 to 6 hours a day. They are moving. Regularity of the migration. Strictly, they are regularly migrating in the year. After that, route of migration. They are finding their route with the help of we can say landscapes. Way of finding navigation, visual landmark, experiences. The landmarks they are keeping in their mind, experiences, homing instinct, which is a very peculiar characteristic of migratory bird. Homing instinct means to reach to the home, is the urge to reach to the home. The star and the sun as a compass, earth magnetic field, causes of migration. Then there are number of causes of migrations are there. Sexual cycle is there, increase in the cold, summer, nervous system bringing about urge to migrate. once the one bird is starting feeling that we have to migrate, all birds are migrating. Origin of migration: northern home theory, southern home theory, that north to south, south to north. Significance of migration: there is a significance of migration is nothing but for the breeding purpose, to continue their race. The bird get plenty of food supply in their place of migration. Then arrival of warm place, cold place. They know how, where there is a warm, or the summer is there, or a winter is there. As a result of migration, the bird escape cold and stormy or excess of heat. Then mammals, prototherian mammal and eutherian mammal. So there are structural peculiarities prototheria. So before that, the course outcomes, student understand the basic concept of classification of characterization up to the order class aves, flight adaptation, morphological, anatomical, physiological, and migration significance. Student learns about class Mammalia and general feature and classification of order. Prototheria, prototherian mammal and eutherian mammal. So this is the general feature of mammalian structural peculiarity in Prototheria. Egg-laying mammal. The duckbill platypus, which is a animal which have the egg-laying property as well as the mammary glands are there. Typical structure is there. They are dicondylic. They are seven cervical vertebrae without zygapophysis. The ribs is single-headed. The coracoid bearing spines, the teeth are absent. The adult, they are presenting embryonic stage as they replaced by horny plates. They have possessing the cloaca. Heart is four-chambered. Body temperature ranges 25 to 28 degrees centigrade. Partly homeothermous. Brain is simple. Corpus callosum joining to cerebral hemisphere. Then the presence of metanephric kidney. Uterus open into unigenital sinus and terminate into cloaca. The teeth are abdominal in position. Testes are abdominal in position. Penis is retractile. The ovary is reduced in the female. The vagina and uterus are absent. All these characters are present in egg-laying mammal. This is known to be a prototheria egg-laying mammal. Example is duck-bill platypus. And this particularly duck-bill platypus, it is known as Ornithorhynchus. It is known as Ornithorhynchus. And another animal is that particularly affinity with prototheria with reptiles are there, affinity of prototheria with mammals are there. How these animals are possessing both reptilian character and mammalian character, connecting to the class Reptilia as well as connecting to the class Mammalia. So these animals are very special. Duckbill platypus and spiny anteater, which is known as Echidna. It is found throughout the Australia, Tasmania. It is terrestrial and burrowing. 45 centimeter long, body is covered with coarse hairs and small spines, except on the belly. The short limbs are broad feet bearing strong claws, digging the long tubular snout, form a slender beak and terminal rounded mouth. Tongue is long, protrusible, and sticky, and used to sweep insect. Teeth are absent. Upper surface of the tongue has horny seriation with greed against ridges of plates. Eyes are small without nectitating membrane. External ears are inconspicuous. Tail is absent. Sweat glands are absent. During the breeding season, the female develops a temporary abdominal pouch into which she puts her egg, single egg for incubation. Egg shells are leathery. The young hatches in a immaturation condition. It is carried for some time in the pouch and nourished on milk for mammary gland without teats. Mammary gland without teats are there. Males of echidna possessing mammary gland, secreting milk to feed a young one. This is a peculiar character that the male possesses the mammary gland and the teats, and they are feeding the young one. This condition is known as gynecomastism. gynecomastia. Male echidna also has tarsus spur, which hind leg connect to a poison gland in the thigh. So second claws of each hind leg forms a long and curved toilet claw to clean spines. So there is a poison gland in the spiny anteater echidna. So this is known as the example of the prototheria, that egg-laying mammals are there. Egg-laying mammals are there. Then the metatheria. A structural peculiarity of metatheria: soft hair, mammary gland, nipples, then marsupium of the female. Hind limbs are comparatively longer. This is an example of a kangaroo. Marsupial pouch, giant kangaroo, Marcopus, and opossum. These are the example of the metatheria, that pouch-bearing mammals are there. These pouch-bearing mammals have peculiar structure, that they are possessing a pouch, and their young ones, when developed, they are thumb-like. They are reaching to the pouch, and whole development takes place. Further future development takes place into the pouch. Two uteri are there, two vagines are there. Viviparous in man, allantoic placenta is absent. Uh, the metatherian animals, opossum, have 5 weeks in kangaroo. 2 weeks in kangaroo, यानी 2 week में वो develop होते हैं, और kangaroo में 5 week में develop होते हैं, young one. And young ones, when they blind, kept in marsupial pouch and nourished with the milk, which is produced by the mammary gland until fully formed. This is about the kangaroo and we can say opossum. So this is all about the mammalian character. The course outcome, that the student understand the basic concept of classification and characterization of two ordered class Aves, flight adaptation, morphological, anatomical, physiological migration, and significance. Student learn about the class Mammalia and general feature and classification of two order, Prototheria, Metatheria, and Eutheria. So these are the classification of eutherian mammal. Eutherian mammals are the general mammal, means giving the birth to the young one. That all mammals included in eutheria. In the last unit, that is the uh, comparative anatomy, integument and derivatives. Integument are the skin derivatives. Functions of integument are the skin, that is the protection. Protection is the one of the function of the integument. Another is the locomotion, dermal endoskeleton. Then presence of secretion, mucus gland, poison gland, urophygeal gland, mammary gland, odorous scent, tears, some lacrimal gland, glands of auditory meatus, food storage. So thick fatty layer of blubber under the skin of the seal, whale, they are acting as a food storage. Temperature control. Integument means the skin, outer protective covering of the animal body is known as, we can say, integument. It control the temperature. It perform the excretion of water, salt, urea through the sweat. Then in gills of marine fishes, certain chloride secretion cell. Shedding of skin during the ecdysis also get rid of some metabolic waste. Sensation. Cutaneous nerve endings are there where we can sense the particular sense. Sexual selection. Brilliantly controlled skin antlers or male deer, also tail covered by peacock, etc. lead to a sexual dimorphism. Peacock के जो feathers है या antlers है deer के, these are the derivatives of the skin. Then miscellaneous. Vitamin D is synthesized in mammalian skin. Brood pouches under the skin of some fishes and amphibian protect attachment of the skin. Nasal gland in tetrapod keep nostril free of water and breathe. Amphibians and other aquatic animals carry considerable respiration and their richly vascular skin. Skin shows selective absorption of oil, ointment, iodine, beneficiary sun rays. So skin absorb all these ointment and chemical compounds. Special types of enzymes are produced by larvae of some fishes and frog. Derivatives of integument. अब ये स्किन एक हो गया, दूसरा है डेरिवेटिव्स ऑफ इंटीग्यूमेंट, एपिडर्मल डेरिवेटिव्स। एपिडर्मल डेरिवेटिव्स में पहला है डर्मल डेरिवेटिव्स। एपिडर्मल डेरिवेटिव्स where we can see the epidermal glands are there, hard, horny structures including epidermal scales, hoods, beaks, horn, claw, nails and hooves and feathers and hairs. All these are uh, epidermal, and dermal arises from the dermis, comprises of bony dermal scale plates, spurs, fin, rays and antlers. And all these dermal and epidermal derivatives helps anyhow to the animal in protecting in different mechanism. Dermal scales are tetrapod, dermal fins, rays, then the horns. The true horns. If the true horns we have to study, then the true horns are usually occur in both sexes in goat, cows, sheep, and buffalo. Unbranched, cylindrical, tapering, they are permanent structures and continue to grow throughout the life. Never shed, hollow dermal bony core arising from the frontal bone of the skin of the skull. Prawn horn, they are hollow. Antlers are there in particularly rhinoceros, and in other animal antelopes are there. Antlers are there. Giraffe horn, they are not the true horn. Then the hair horn, जैसे rhinoceros में आपको hair horn मिलता है, which have highest cost. So different horn types are there. So in this comparative account of the heart, in comparative account of the heart, four chamber heart, how it develops from a two chamber heart. Simple tube, embryology of the position of the heart, heart in the reptiles, four chamber are 3.5 chamber. It is formed in the reptile. Then the four chamber, it develops, four chamber develops in the birds, and complete four chamber develops in the mammals. So all these development of the heart and we can say auricles, there some tricuspid and bicuspid valves, aortes, all developed in the mammal. So a single tube from the fishes, how two chamber, three chambered, four chambered, and five chamber, a four chambered mammal heart is developed. Comparative account of aortic arches. These aortic arches, they are developed in the birds, mammals, and reptiles. These embryonic, particularly aortic arches, they are ventral aorta, a dorsal aorta, usually forming a six pair of aortic arches. Arteries and veins, they join to form aortic arches. So there are six functional aortic arches, but three functional aortic arches found in the reptiles, then three in the birds, and three in the mammals. So numbers are varying. Then the receptor organ, general cutaneous receptors are there. The skin possess uh, entire body surface acquires vertebrate. Most of the parts, skin terrestrial vertebrates are sensitive to chemical. Certain part of the skin is sensitive to contact, temperature changes. Cutaneous receptors are free nerve ending of peripheral nerves, and these encapsulated nerves ending are tactile corpuscles. Free nerve endings are there. These are tango receptor, AGC receptors, AGC receptors, then the palm, sole, bird beak, they are possessing chalcoreceptors, then the phyngioreceptors, heat and cold, chemoreceptor for the chemical receptors, olfactory organ, olfactoreceptors are there, which can detect the particular chemicals, temperature, and all these receptors are performing. After that, organ of Jacobson or vermaconasal organ. It is present in the snake. So they can detect the temperature of the body. That is known as organ of Jacobson. So this particular receptor present in the snake, and they can also detect the we can say temperature. Organ of gestatorreceptor means types of the taste. we can particularly taste the four different tastes: bitter, sour, sweet, and all these four different tastes we can particularly taste with the help of gustatoreceptor. Organ of tastes are there, taste buds are there. And comparative account of urinogenital system. Urinogenital system, previously it is found that the Malpighian tubules are, we can say, uriniferous tubules. They are not developing as such. The glomeruli or Bowman's capsule are not developing as such. So as the development or evolution takes place, the urinogenital system also develops. That is pronephros, mesonephros, and we can say metanephros kidney is developed. So before that, archaeonephroid kidney is there, pronephroid kidney is there, mesonephroid kidney is there, and metanephroid is there. Reproductive organ in vertebrates. So sometimes this reproductive organ, it is connected to the urinogenital system, means excretory system. That's why it is known as urinogenital system in vertebrates. In most of the animals, they are separated. In amniotes, male and the female, we can say excretory system is separate. But in mammals, urinogenital system is, or we can say excretory system and reproductive system are connected to each other. Right from that, birds, you will get development of the urinogenital system very complicated. In the mammal, separate systems are there, but they are connecting as a copulatory organ. Through the copulatory organ, the urine as well as ova and the sperm, they are transferring. Then the presence of uterus, particularly duplex uterus, bipartite uterus, bicorny uterus, then simple uterus. This is also developing in the mammal. So all these comparative account, it is favors that during the evolution, what kind of the changes occur during the integument scale and horn, comparative account of aortic arches and the heart, types of receptor, comparative account of urinogenital system, how it is developing, that is important. The course outcome for the student learns the fundamentals of comparative anatomy. Student understand comparative account of derivatives of integument, scale and horn, aortic arches and heart, types of receptors, urinogenital system. So this is about the comparative account of the different systems. Then the course outcome summary. Familiar with vertebrates world that around us, able to identify vertebrates and classify them to the class level. Understand the basis of life process in the chordate. Higher vertebrates introduction, digestive, nervous, reproductive system, and comparative anatomy. This is a course outcome of this particular paper in semester third, paper 1. Thank you.